p.m. 9:30 The Light, Edmonton's Positive Talk. And that was Matt Redman with What Is So Amazing About Your Love. Our scripture for this morning is Psalm 149, verse number 4. Listen to what David writes. He says, "For the Lord takes delight in his people, and he crowns the humble with victory." Think about that just for a moment. Here is God, the God of the universe, looking down on you today and says this: you are my delight. You are the apple of my eye. When I look at you today, what I see is eyes of love. I'm looking at you and saying, you are wonderfully and marvelously created. Now, I've been a father for a couple of years. In fact, my oldest son is having his birthday today. So happy birthday, Robert. He was born back in 1981, and he himself just became a father recently. That's very, very exciting. And here he is. He kind of is the apple of my eye. He was the first of our children. And I remember holding him in my arms when I was living in Lacombe. And I looked at him and I thought, my goodness, you are just an absolutely delightful little guy. And then I prayed over him that God would really minister. And you know, all his life he has been one of my delights, one of my joys. And you know, that's the way that God looks at you, as you are his child, and he is your Father in heaven. He delights in his people. And then he goes on and says, and then he crowns the humble with victory. Now, it is interesting that the Bible says if we humble ourselves in the sight of the Lord, he will lift us up. So when we choose the path of humility, when we say, God, I'm going to love you with every fiber of my being, I'm going to love you with my heart, my soul, my mind, and my strength, you know what God does? He crowns us with victory. Now think about that for a minute. You are not being overcome today. You are actually becoming an overcomer. You're not going to walk today in defeat. You are going to walk today in victory. You may have a test today, but I guarantee that on the other side, you're going to have a testimony. Now, last week I had a very interesting thing happen to me. My car broke down on the way to work, and by the end of the week, it ended up being $1,000. And I also bought my wife another car because hers was broken down as well. Now, the interesting side of that was that yesterday morning I opened up an email from my insurance company, and the insurance that we'd been paying a certain amount had gone down a substantial amount, to the point where basically we ended up on the same par. That means that whatever we lost last week paying for bills and taking care of, we are able to give back because of God. You see, God provides, and that's what we need to understand. God looks at us with delight, and he says, no matter what you go through, if you humble yourself before the Lord, he is going to bring you into that place of victory today. So wherever you find yourself today, whatever you find yourself doing today, whatever you face today, remember this: God is on your side. And when you bring the thing to him in prayer, say, Lord, here is this thing right now. I need your provision. The promise is, according to Philippians chapter 4, that God will supply all your needs according to his riches and glory. Think about that. The God of the universe is concerned about the smallest detail. You know what Jesus told us in the Sermon on the Mount? He says, even the number of hairs on your head are numbered. That means that God has everything under control. Maybe you just need to know that today, that God has everything under control. Listen to what it says. God takes delight in his people. When you belong to him, he takes delight in you. And then he also crowns those that walk in humility, those who say, Lord, I need your help today, with victory. You will be an overcomer today. Remember that. God cares that much about you. AM 930 The Light is Edmonton's Positive Talk.